Good morning, everybody on YouTube. So, this right here, this is an enamel cast iron. I'm going to use it to make chili. It is Labor Day 2018. I got to get rid of this mess here. Hold on a second. Okay, I'm almost done. I'm going to go ahead and set the phone down right now. I mean, it really, oh, okay, cool, that's clean. The thing about using cast iron and enamel cast iron is that, especially since it's starting to cool down a little bit, it's going to be subject to temperatures, particularly enamel cast iron. So whenever you do start up your stove, you're going to want to start on the low setting and at least preheat it for about 5 minutes before you actually start cooking. So let me get that out of the way. It'll preheat for a little while. I'm going to start prepping all my vegetables. So I'm going to set the phone down real quick. But before I set it down, I want to show you what I'm actually using here. So got a red bell pepper. It's going to be a good flavoring agent. Green bell peppers you cannot go wrong with. Onion. Garlic. Cheese. But I know that's technically not a vegetable, but whatever. So, yes, preheat your cast iron every single time. Every single time. You don't want to start it on high. So we'll just go ahead and set this right back down. You can generally cut these up however you want to, and I'll show you the preferred method after they're done. Chop, 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 chop. I'm actually going to go ahead and show you exactly what I'm doing. Hopefully I don't mess it up too bad, but just use your knife. I cannot do this with one hand. This is ridiculous. I mean, it's a good thing this is one of those ceramic knives. I mean, seriously. Oops. But anyway, yeah, that's pretty much how they're cut. And when they're big like this, you can actually have all different sorts of flavors going into it, and at least it'll absorb all the flavors, especially for as long as we're going to be cooking this chili. We're going to do the same with the red as we did with the green because, well, bell peppers, this is my recipe. I can make it however I want to. I know you might not agree with it, but bell peppers are delicious though. See? So the YouTube time machine has allowed me to go ahead and get all the rest of that done. So now I'm going to cut these onions up and then later on that garlic. Thing about the onions is you want to cook this with the ground beef. And the reason for that is because it sweats the onions and then you impart a specific flavor to the meat. And this is actually the backbone of every single chili that I do. I'll show you how I do that. But first, let me pause it. I do not know how well this is going to stay standing, but I'll do my best. I got my cord going over here. But what I essentially do is I will take my onion and I'll make several cuts into it, not all the way down to the bottom. Just sort of in like a crosshatch design, basically. Kind of similar to how you would cut an onion blossom or bloomin' onion or whatever they sell at those restaurants. You deep fry them and everything. Yeah, they turn out good. Then what you're gonna do is just cut straight down, and you got yourself some onions that are going to be perfectly sized and chunked out and stuff. So yeah, that's a nice little tip that I found online. And it has been one of my favorite means by which to achieve perfectly cut onions. You'll get bigger pieces like this, but that's not going to hurt because, like I said, it's going to sweat all the onions out. So instead of using my cast iron, I'm just going to switch to this big giant frying pan because I got a lot of meat, and that plus a full onion is going to be a little bit too big for that little skillet that you saw a little bit ago. So I'm going to go ahead and start that up real quick. The ground beef is in now, and I got it set to low. I like to preheat my stuff. And then what I'm going to do now is put in this full onion. That's literally the entire onion with the exception of the skin and then that little stem thingy that you saw before. And then that's just going to brown the meat, and then the onions will be fully sweated after about 15-20 minutes or so. This is really, really easy. Just gonna go right ahead and just kind of break it up a little bit. Yeah. You want to season your meat at this process, or at this point, because a lot of your flavor is going to come from the meats. It's going to also go in here, which I've turned this off because it's going to take me a little while. You want to season your meats and everything, even though all the flavors are going to eventually get all mixed up here. Yeah, everything is going to absorb all the flavors, and then whatever salt and whatever you put into here, you'll actually see everywhere else. I wasn't quite sure how to say that, so sorry, that's all I got. So I've thrown all my seasonings in now, so I'm going to go ahead and cover that up and just let it heat up. And once all your meat's browned up, then you can start working on the next phase, transferring it over here so that you can put all the rest of your ingredients in there. You could always make a chili in here, but I prefer cast iron because cast iron's awesome. In the meantime, I wanted to kind of show you all the different seasonings that I put in there just now. I use this Worcestershire sauce, or Worcestershire, however you want to call it. I threw some Mrs. Dash in there, a little bit of onion powder because everybody loves onion powder who's ever done meats, you know. Himalayan pink salt, probably about a teaspoon and a half or so, because that's what, like 3.5 to 4 pounds of meats. And this stuff, you got peppercorn medley. So you don't just have black pepper in here, you have white peppers, and then I think a small number of red peppers too. I don't know if it's going to focus or not. Come on, phone, you can do it. Alright, there we go. So yeah, and those are essentially all I'm really going to use, with the exception of when it comes time for me to put all my liquid stuffs in here, which is like tomato sauce. I'm going to be throwing some chili powder in there, and that will give me that chili flavor that I absolutely love. So I'll get back to you in a few minutes. You know, I just kind of thought about it. That's going to pretty much fill that up, and it's not going to give me enough room really to throw all the rest of my ingredients in, because you have these, and then you have those, and then I also have like several other things I'm going to be putting in, like some beef polska kielbasa. Dude, this stuff is awesome to add to your meats. I don't care what anybody says. You could use bacon or traditional other meats. I don't care. This stuff gives me the flavor that I really, really, really enjoy, personally. So besides my my tomato sauce, I'm also going to be adding what people might consider a cardinal sin: beans in a can. The reason I'm using these is because, well, I actually enjoy these a lot. Now's the time to start the garlic. So when you're processing garlic, what you don't want to do is use a ceramic knife, because although they're sharp, they are not very durable. So I'm going to be using a larger knife, a little bit of a bigger knife, because of its thickness, and that's literally this cleaver. And this thing's fairly sharp, actually, so it works fairly well for the purposes in which I intend to use it, and that's every single time. Okay, so once again I have my phone leaning on something. Last time it was on the coffee pod that's right behind there, but this time I'm going to be leaning it on the Worcestershire sauce jar, whatever you want to call it. So when you're doing garlic, one of the things you don't want to do, obviously, is leave the skin on. So there's multiple ways to go about this, but there's always this little thing right here. You want that to come off. Once you do that, you can peel your skin off. And I might be doing this the hard way. It's whatever. So once you got your skins off and everything peeled out, then you can take your knife and somewhat carefully crush it up, and then the rest of your skins will fall off. Okay, so maybe I'm doing it the wrong way. Here. Okay. Let's try it on one that's not peeled up. I may have just learned a new cooking technique for this, or a prep technique anyway. Ah, there we go. Cool. Right, so then you can just cut that up and be on your merry way, I guess. Which is, fine by me. Once again, it just boils down to personal preference, how finely chopped or crushed or processed you want your garlic. Me personally, irregular shapes are always fine by me. So, and each time you get a bite of that big piece anyways, it's just going to lead to a flavor explosion, and flavor explosions are good. So once you're done doing that, you can just kind of throw your garlic in there, mix it up, and you can already tell that over the last 10 minutes it's browned up fairly well. I'm going to continue to mix everything, and then I'll be back in about a minute or so. So as you can tell, there's still some pink in there. We don't want that. At least I don't. You can have whatever pink you want in there, but this is going to be fully cooked regardless of what happens by the end of the day. So yeah, just a few more minutes, probably like another 5 to 10 minutes, and then we'll go on to the next phase. I cleaned up my workstation just a little bit because I'm just going to use the crock pot. But if it comes down to it, I can also use this blue enamel cast iron pot, or roaster as you might call it. So for the next phase, this is getting cut up into tiny little medallions, and it's going to go in there. Now cook. So we're just about done here now, so I just have to strain out all that liquid, and then, or at least a good portion of it. I'm still going to use some of it because flavor and content. So that filled up about half my crock pot, all that meat. So yeah, I guess that's a pretty good volume. Now I'm going to check up on that kielbasa real quick. Ooh. Yeah, it didn't really do anything. It's only been a couple minutes. It's been preheating this whole time. So I'm going to stir this up real quick, and then turn the heat up a little bit. Get them brown, because that's going to add a lot more flavor to the chili, as it were. Okay, I got them all stirred up. Now we're going to turn heat up to about medium, roughly. And then that'll be it. During the meantime, I'm going to put all the rest of my stuff into there. So, like I said, it's going to include some beans, and I know that some people absolutely hate the fact that beans are going to be a part of this. But this is just what I do. That's how I make my chili. You want to strain your beans because all those juices, yeah, so there's that. And by the way, I'm using kidney beans, I'm using black beans, and then a little bit of pinto beans down there. But yes, this strainer is full. So I've added the beans now, and now I'm going to add all that tomato sauce, and that's going to provide my liquid base for the rest of this meal. And then I'm going to top it off with all those bell peppers and all those bell peppers that you saw me doing earlier. So stick around. Just as I suspected, this thing is going to get full to beyond the capacity of this quart, the 6-quart crock pot. So I'm going to throw some of this into there, and then I'm just going to cook both. I'm going to put obviously half of that stuff in there, and then half of this in here, and it should be really, really good. And I'm going to be tasting it throughout the day, so by the end of the day we'll be able to throw everything into here. Okay, so that's done. What I'm going to do now is throw in these vegetables that I prepped earlier, and I'm going to kind of just split them up between these two according to what the ratio is. So I'll be right back for that. Okay, well, there you go. Now it's just a matter of stirring it all in and then letting it settle for a while. So that's basically how I make my chili. It's going to be for Labor Day 2018, like I said. So yeah, there we go.
Can you unplug this fan? I'm going to toss it.
I'm going to go ahead and cut my video off here, and then when it's done, I will show you the end result of this. Yeah.